YouTube! This is my part 2 of The Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 9, titled, where is it? No Way Out. Sorry, I forgot the name of it for like 5 seconds. But anyway, back to where I left off. Yeah, I feel for Ron. I mean, his dad was already killed by Rick earlier in the season. Well, not really earlier in the season, but you know what I mean. And, he just witnessed his baby brother panicking, and he ends up getting devoured, and sees his mom screaming his head off because of it. She gets devoured, and during that whole thing, he sees Rick chop off her hand, and it's like, okay, I understand if he freaks out and just goes all blank, right? But Ron, when Rick hacks off Jesse's arm, you know, Carl falls back from the impact, right? Just a little bit, and you see a gun fall out. I want to say it's Carl's gun, because he's the one that fell backwards, right? But, like, when Rick hacks the arm off and he turns around, he sees that Ron has the gun that fell over, and he points it at Rick and Carl. I don't really blame him, because he blames Rick and Carl for everything, you know, the death of the dad, death of the mom and brother. And before Ron really truly shoots at both of them, Michonne impales him. But despite the fact that Michelle still impales Ron, he still manages to fire the gun. And, Rick, Michonne, they're like, oh, thank God, you know, the shot must have, like, gone somewhere else, right? But unfortunately for us, when Rick manages to get a closer look at Carl, when Carl turns around, you see that there's blood on one side of his face, and you see that when Ron fired his gun, when Michonne impaled him, the bullet hit Carl's eye. And he's like, the last thing he says before collapsing is dad, and he falls over, right? Of course, Rick is freaking out. I don't blame him on that, because, hello, his son's eye just got out by a gunshot. But, like, Rick carries his son to the infirmary, and Michonne's, like, clearing a path for him. And, in the infirmary, Denise is there. Aaron is there. Yeah, Aaron. Denise, Aaron, Heath. Was it Heath? I think his name is Heath. And I know, hang on, wait. What was her son's? I don't remember the son's name. This is so bad. I don't remember his name. You guys can put it in the comments. But Deanna's son, right? So, Denise, Aaron, I believe his name is Heath, but I know it was the African-American dude with glasses and the dreadlock thing going on. I think his name is Heath. Deanna's son, I forgot his name right now at the tip of my tongue, so you guys can put in the comments. You could even yell at me for that. They're all there in the infirmary, and, Michonne's clearing a path for, Rick while he's carrying, Rick to the infirmary. And there's Denise trying to save poor Carl, and during that whole thing, Rick gets enraged by what happened to Carl, and he, like, grabs his axe and goes back outside, closes the door, heads toward the horde of undead, and begins, like, attacking them with his axe, right? And while that's all happening, basically when Denise gives the all clear for Carl that he's somewhat okay because she's stitching the eye, right? Michonne goes out there to help him. And it pretty much motivates the others, besides Denise, because she has to stay behind and take care of Carl. Heath, Deanna's son, and even Aaron go out there and join Michonne and Rick and start hacking away. And then the other Alexandrians, they're pretty much motivated, starting with, like, Father Gabriel, which is amazing, because he's at the church with Judith. He manages to make it to the church with Judith, and there are a few Alexandrians there in the church. And he gives Judith to one of the women there, and he's like, he tells them, I'm going to go help. So naturally, the lady with Judith is still in the church, but I think Father Gabriel and the others went out there with him. And pretty much they all join Rick in fighting off the walkers. And during that whole thing, Glenn and Enid, you know, they're at the beginning of the episode, before night fell, they managed to go to a church and, like, find guns, and they make little ropes and all that stuff to rescue Maggie. And they managed to get over the wall, and, Glenn manages to get to Enid, and tells Enid, you know, get to Maggie, get her on the other side, and, like, use the rope thing that you used, get her over there, right? While he ends up being a distraction. So he's all distracting all the walkers that are literally shaking the tower that Maggie's on. He's all distracting them. Unfortunately, he gets surrounded, and for God's sake, when I saw that, and I saw that he was surrounded, and Maggie doing that blood-curdling scream. I was like, please do not tell me that we're legitimately going to lose Glenn for real. Because we already went through that bullshit. And, in the previous episode where we literally thought that he got eaten alive near that stupid dumpster, and it turns out that he's the lucky son of a bitch and got under the dumpster and didn't get eaten. But, like, I literally thought we were legitimately going to see Glenn get eaten. I really did. Like, for real, he was literally surrounded. There was nothing around him that he could hide under or jump over. He was literally, like, backed into a wall. Like, legitly. He was surrounded by walkers, and the only thing behind him or near him was the wall. There was no hiding under anything. There was no jumping over anything. He was legitly surrounded, and I literally thought that he was going to get eaten. But all of a sudden, just bullets be flying everywhere, and every walker that was surrounding Glenn, gone. And then you see that Abraham and Sasha are there with their little machine guns or whatever, and they're all like, they pretty much saved Glenn and from the possible second chance at death. And I'm like, Glenn, you are the luckiest son of a bitch in all the land. The fact that you survived the dumpster one was amazing. This was just, you're the lucky son of a bitch, Glenn Rhee. I'm just saying. Anyway, during that whole thing, Glenn, Enid, Maggie, along with Abraham and Sasha, they go into the truck that Daryl has because they brought the truck over. And, they end up driving toward the pond where they take out all the gasoline from the truck and put it in the pond. And they pretty much use the rocket launcher, well, Daryl does, to ignite the entire pond, set it aflame to draw all the walkers away from Alexandria toward the fire. Which actually works. And, during that whole thing, like, while a good chunk of them are going through the fire-infested, was it a pond? Yeah, a pond, right? There's still a good chunk of them in the road. Rick and the others, they're all fighting, and the others join the fight naturally. And during that fight, Morgan actually sees that the wolf has unfortunately turned into a walker, which is not surprised because he was bitten, and he tackled the walker to save Denise, so he probably was eaten even more. Morgan, feels bad for him, and he's like, he kills the wolf, says, I'm sorry. And amazing enough, the survivors managed to survive and eliminate the entire herd that was in Alexandria, whether attacking it full frontal or the pond of flames got rid of them all. But, like, you see that a good chunk of the survivors are all in front of the infirmary. I believe it's the infirmary. And, you see Daryl getting stitched up by Denise. And then you pans over to Rick talking to unconscious Carl. Like, he's on a bed. And, it's kind of like you remember when Carl first got shot by, Otis, right? And, they took him all the way to the green farm. He's resting on the bed, all that stuff. It's kind of just like that. It kind of mirrors the first time Carl got shot. And he was all, like, on the verge of death right there. And, Rick's talking to Carl, telling him how he wants Carl to see the new world without all this. Oh, wait, stop scratching. I'm sorry, my dog is, like, scratching his ears. I hate when he does that. But anyway, he's all telling him he wants Carl to see this new world and all that stuff. And because of that, he's, like, talking to him and all that stuff. And Carl is unresponsive. He's just laying there in the bed. And while he's talking, all of a sudden, amazingly enough, even getting shot in the freaking eye, Carl does respond somehow because he grasped Rick's hand. See, that's the thing here. I knew Carl getting shot in the eye was going to possibly happen because it did happen in the comic books. But if he could survive getting shot in the eye, I'm not gonna lie to you, I have... Beth could totally survive her shot. I'm just saying. I know. I'll always be a Beth lover, and quite frankly, for me, it's like, I don't believe her to be dead. Everyone could, like, rah, everyone who believes her to be dead could be rah at me for all they want, but, like, unless I see her dead corpse on screen, I don't believe it. Okay? there are so many rumors that some people say that. You remember that scene where they're escaping and it's like all fast paced and they're looking for cars and all that stuff? It's the episode right after Daryl carries Beth's body out of the hospital. You see them looking for cars and stuff, right? And I highly doubt that Daryl and Maggie would want to get rid of Beth's body so fast, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, what happened to her body? The last time we saw her, Daryl was carrying her out, and they were crying and moping after her, and then the next thing you know, we see glimpses, like fast-paced glimpses of them looking for a car. Obviously, they're still nearby the hospital parking lot. They're looking for the car to escape. What did they do with her body? Because it looked like they were still near the hospital premises, so obviously they didn't bury Beth. I mean, they were still in the premises near the hospital looking for cars. But Daryl and them did not have the body, so there's rumors that they've just put her body in a car in the parking lot of the hospital and left. And I like I said, I am not gonna believe Beth